What's up guys, it's Eric from Rare Candy and welcome back to another entry into our testing round series where we take a look at some unrefined rough deck ideas revolving around new cards that a set gives us, and we try them out and see what has potential and what doesn't. So for this entry, of course, we are kicking off our Ultra Prism coverage, and for this entry we are doing a Leafeon GX and Garchomp. So I'm actually going to be on the left playing a Leafeon GX Decidueye, and then we actually have Haley Brokaw, who is a local player from our area. We've actually featured her in some League Cup top cut matches before on the channel, but she's going to be over on the right and she's going to be playing Garchomp. So this should be an interesting matchup because Garchomp can potentially one-shot Leafeon, and then Decidueye is typically good against these low HP evolving decks like Garchomp, so I feel like this is kind of even. But Haley doesn't have much there. She only has the Tapu Lele and the double colorless energy, so she is definitely not having a good start in this game. But here I am opening with Eevee as my starter, my ideal starter in the deck, also using Bridget to search my deck for 3 basic Pokemon. And so you'll quickly see why Leafeon is getting some attention. So I'm going to play Ultra Ball, getting rid of a few more cards just to get another basic down. And Leafeon GX has this GX move just for a single grass energy. You search your deck for a card that evolves from each of your benched basic Pokemon and evolve into them immediately. So here on my first turn, I'm getting 5 GXs in total. I'm sorry, not 5 GXs, but 5 stage 1s in total into play on my first turn of the game. So you can see just how powerful this Grand Bloom attack actually is. So unfortunately, Haley still doesn't have much to work with. She has another Fighting Energy, and she has a Guzma, it looks like, that's in her hand. Okay, so she's going to bring up Dartrix here and just do 60 damage. Okay, and here I have a Tapu Lele GX, so I can grab a Draw Supporter. Probably a Professor Sycamore seems good. I need to dig to hit a few things in order to actually win this turn, because if I get 3 Decidueyes, I can actually just win. Well, I'm sorry, I need Decidueye and double colorless energy, I should say. So, unfortunately, I don't think I got it, though. I do have, it looks like Ultra Balls and some stuff like that, but even still, Haley, it says she's just going to scoop. Let's just go on to game 2 and try this again. This isn't much of a fair game at this point. So, this is a best out of 3 series that we are going to do, so we do have a couple more games to potentially show up, what these decks do and how they're supposed to set up, so. But I have to say, even though Haley didn't have much of a setup there, you can really see how this Leafeon deck works and how it's supposed to get set up. Getting all of those stage 1s into play is just so oppressive, and puts on a ton of pressure very early on. Especially in the case of Decidueye, it can be a little bit slow getting going, like the traditional Zoroark Decidueye deck that's been the most popular probably at the time of filming. It can be a little clunky getting all these stage 2s and stage 1s in play, but Leafeon just makes it that much quicker, I think. But on the other side, Garchomp is still a solid attacker. It can one-shot these Leafeons. It has this attack. I believe it's a Fighting and double colorless energy. It does 100 damage, but if you play the new Cynthia card for turn, it does 100 more. So Garchomp is still a decent attacker as well, and hopefully Haley can have a little bit, a bit of a better time getting set up. So she does open with a Gibble at least. And does she have a Bridget? That's going to be the big card she's going to want to see on the first turn here. So it looks like she has a Floats down. She's thinking about getting down. Okay, she's going to take it back. And I think one reason she's taking it back is because Gibble has this ability. If you have a Fighting Energy on it, it has a 0 retreat cost. So every attachment in this deck is very precious. And being able to preserve your energy with that ability is pretty decent. So here she's going to go and play Cynthia and just try to draw the Fighting Energy that she needs instead. And instead of having to waste a Floatstone. Floatstone is definitely better on some of the other Pokemon that are in this deck. So, and also Cynthia, definitely a key card in this deck. Like I mentioned, Garchomp needs Cynthia to be played to do an extra 100 damage. But even still, it's a great card on its own because you shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 6. Just like the old Professor Oak's New Theory back from the Heart Gold Soul Silver era. So it's actually pretty good. She managed to get the Fighting Energy. She has a low in Vulpix as well. So definitely a good little first turn. She did not get Bridget, but she's doing okay. But here I'm going to use Energy Evolution on Eevee to grab myself a Leafeon. It's that ability whenever you attach a basic energy to Eevee from your hand, you search your deck for a Pokemon that evolves from it and put it into play. So definitely one part about this deck that makes it so good. So let's see what else I have. I have another Eevee, but I have to say beyond that my hand is kind of dead. So I might just have to pass. I could use Grand Bloom to evolve this Eevee, but I think it's kind of a waste just because this Eevee is able to evolve so easily as it is. So here, Haley is going to play a Bridget. That is an upside down Pokemon fan club in her discard pile. You might be confused by that, but we didn't have any extra copies of Bridget on hand at the time when we record this video, so we're just using these fan clubs as proxies for Bridget in her deck. So sorry about that, just want to clear that up. So she's definitely having a much better start. Going for, it looks like a Gible, a Riolu, and potentially another Gible could be good. Another Riolu could be good as well. Either of those I think is fine, but it looks like she's only getting the 2, so that must mean she has a, 2 Gibles and a Riolu prize. So that is definitely not what she likes to see, but on the plus side, I have really nothing going on, so she can kind of set up all these Pokemon on her own. You know, even missing those other Pokemon isn't going to affect her too much unless I'm able to draw out of this hand and really start getting set up on my next turn. So it looks like she's going for a Gabite. That definitely seems good. So maybe a Gabite and a Lucario could be good. Yep, I like that. That seems fine to me. You know, if she had Rare Candy, I think she should have gone for the Garchomp, but no, she's definitely okay. Here, just going for the Gabite, and here I'm going to attach a double Colress Energy and just take a knockout on this Vulpix. I honestly don't want to knock out this Vulpix, but I really need to draw more cards and try to start getting set up here. Okay, so it looks like Haley's going to get out a Lucario. And, you know, I have to think, you know, I have an extra turn just because I saw her go for the Gabite. She's not going to have Garchomp this turn to knock me out. So hopefully between my prize card and my top deck, I can grab something that I need to start setting up. So here it looks like she got down that Gabite, but what else is she going to do beyond that? That's the question here. And I'm not sure what she has in hand. It's hard for me to tell. I think I might see an Ultra Ball, but I can't quite tell here. Okay, so she's gonna attach a Fighting Energy down to Gabite and play End. So I am ecstatic about this. My hand was terrible up until now. And, you know, I'm only gonna get 5 off this End, but, you know, I look at it this way. It can't be any worse than the 5 that I had before. And so I'm also happy about this because that means I'm not going to be knocked out by Garchomp since this was not a Cynthia. That is one of the downsides to Garchomp. You have to play Cynthia to get that 100 damage boost. So she, you know, attached a Fighting Energy already to Gabite and played the End, so I am safe. There's no way a Garchomp can get into play and take a knockout here. So let's see what she's going to do. So she's going to retreat into the Gabite. Remember that Gible has free retreat because of that Fighting Energy on it. And she can just use Gabite's attack. So if you guys are unfamiliar with this Gabite, its first attack, Ascension for a Fighting Energy, lets you search your deck for a card that evolves from Gabite and immediately evolve into it. So it's one way to get Garchomp into play a little quicker. So here I'm going to get down a Rowlet and trying to think. Beyond that, you know, I hate to say it, I really don't have much that I can do. I can use Grand Bloom to evolve into Dartrix, but I just don't think it's worth it. I think I have to do 100 damage here. Or I'm sorry, 110 damage. So that's Leafeon's main attack for our Grass and DC, just does 110. And here Haley has Rare Candy Garchomp ready to go. And now that she has the Garchomps in play, Lucario becomes immensely more useful. Because Lucario has this ability, if you have Garchomp in play, you get to search your deck for any card and just put it into your hand. So it's like a free computer search every turn as long as you have Garchomp in play. So of course Haley is going to go for this Cynthia card to ensure she gets that 100 damage boost from Garchomp. But I do think she may have made a little bit of a misplay here. She did attach double Colress Energy to the active Garchomp. So Garchomp actually has free retreat. She could have retreated into the fresh Garchomp, attached the double Colress Energy there, and knocked me out with a fresh Garchomp. So definitely, I think a misplay. But in these testing rounds videos, these are usually our first couple times ever playing with the deck. So definitely expect a few misplays here and there with these early decks that we're messing with. And here you actually saw myself. I'm not used to Cynthia yet. I almost shuffled my hand back into my deck like it was N and started to get a new hand. But Cynthia only works for the player who's playing it, unlike N. So luckily I was able to get my terrible hand back without it being shuffled back into my deck. So let's see. Ooh, I do top deck an Ultra Ball, so that actually is very relevant here. But I'm in a tricky situation because I have Leafeon. I can knock out this Garchomp, but Haley has Lucario in play, and so I can knock out this Garchomp. But guess what? She can use Lucario to search for exactly what she needs on her next turn. Similarly, I could use Grand Bloom GX. I could go for Lele and go for a Bridget and start setting up a bunch of Pokemon, but guess what? Then Garchomp just knocks me out immediately. So because I am like 2 or 3 turns behind and I really don't have a turn that I can afford to use Grand Bloom, my deck is just not nearly as strong. You can see how important it is to build this deck around getting that turn 1 or turn 2 Grand Bloom GX off. Okay, and I do draw a couple more Pokemon, but nothing else too crazy there. So what I'm going to do is attach this energy to that Lele, and then now I can use this Tapu Lele to knock out Garchomp instead of my Leafeon, kind of preserving my Leafeon in play. So you can see here, attaching that double colorless energy to that Garchomp did kind of come back to bite her here, but I'm feeling pretty bad either way, to be honest. My board is not that good. She has Garchomp and Lucario, so she's going to be able to easily, reset up her board if she has to. So she's going to play Super Odd, getting back probably her Garchomp line, especially if she did prize some of her Gibbles. It's definitely going to be important to be able to keep recycling these things throughout the course of the game until she draws into her Gibbles out of her prizes. So she's definitely in a good spot here. Let's see what else she really has to work with. All she needs is a double colorless energy and a Cynthia, and she's going to be good to go. So here she's going to use Lucario's ability. I'm not sure what she grabbed there. Like I said, it's got to be either a double colorless energy or a Cynthia. So let's see. So it looks like that is double colorless energy she got. So that must mean she has the Cynthia already in hand, ready to go. So that is kind of annoying. I really need her to whiff exactly what she needed this turn. If I could have just stayed alive, or stayed alive for one more turn and kind of successfully like two-shot this Garchomp, kind of efficiently, then I could maybe stay in the game. But she just had exactly what she needed, so she's gonna be in a good spot. But she definitely does need to get another Gibble down. I think that's gonna be very imperative. She's not really threatened to be knocked out on my next turn, so she can whiff a Gibble one turn, I think, but next turn she definitely needs one down. Okay, but she has an Ultra Ball, so no doubt she's going to start setting up another Gibble. So she's going to get rid of Garchomp, the other Garchomp, that's the one back from Breakpoint. Kind of a neat card that can accelerate special energies out of your discard pile if you have to. So it's a kind of a cool way you can get back your double colorless energies. Also gives you some additional type coverage. But probably not too useful right here. So she's, kind of doing the smart thing. She's going for Gibble, kind of recognizing that she needs to be able to string Garchomps every turn of the game. And here she's going to get down a Floatstone on Lucario, kind of saying, I'm going to go down to 2 prizes. If I get End, I want to kind of play down my hand a little bit and, make sure that, I don't draw on cards I don't need, basically. So here I'm going to go for a Bridget, it looks like. A couple turns too late, but nevertheless, it's one of the... I do need to get more Pokemon into play, so it's definitely not the worst card to have here. And it is going to thin my deck out on the plus side, so... So I'm going to go for a Rowlet and a Zorua here, and then another Rowlet. So, if I can draw into Zoroark GX, that's definitely going to speed up the deck a little bit. I'm just trying to think, what do I really do, though? I do have an Eevee in hand. I'm thinking one thing I could do is I can put down Eevee and just retreat into it. I can use Grand Bloom GX, but I actually just lose because she can search out the last Cynthia she needs to take a knockout with this Garchomp. So here you just have to pass and hope that my next turn I get something that I can make use of. I think I have another Bridget in hand if I did see correctly. So I do have access to Espeon EX in this deck, and that is something I could attempt to do. So let's see what she's going to do here. Okay, so she's going to put down a Choice Band on Garchomp here. And not sure what all she really needs this turn. I think she's in a fine spot. She can honestly just search her deck for like a Cynthia if she really wants to. And just hold that for next turn. So what she can do, she can literally just knock out Eevee with Garchomp, and then next turn just play the Cynthia and win. Because I don't think there's anything that I'd be able to do to knock out this Garchomp. Because even if I got a Decidueye in play and attack with Leafeon, that would only be 130 damage between Leafeon and Decidueye's Feather Arrow, and there's no way I can get down another Decidueye since I don't play Rare Candy or anything like that in this deck. So she's actually really safe. The only other thing I could see is maybe just getting down an energy attachment. That could be another good thing. So it looks like she's getting down a Riolu. I think that's fine as well. And here she's going to play Evo Soda going into this Gabite. So kind of setting up another Garchomp just in anticipation that I finally do get set up and am able to take a knockout at some point. So let's see what she's going to do here. It looks like she's thinking about playing Cynthia. She seems a little torn on it. She knows that she needs Cynthias to, you know, take knockouts and everything like that, but I think she's in a fine spot even if she plays the Cynthia because she can knock out this Eevee, and then next turn she can actually just search her deck for a Guzma and use that to knock out any of these low HP evolving Pokemon. So she doesn't even need another Cynthia to win the game if she has to. So Haley definitely in a very commanding spot. You know, now it's my turn. I have the deck that's, you know, not working well. Last game she got the bad luck. This game I got some bad luck. So let's see how the rest of the game goes. I do still have Espeon EX at my disposal, so I do actually have a way to potentially stay in this game. So what I can do is I can, looks like I'm playing that Bridget. I'm going to get down Espeon EX, and I think I have a Grass Energy in hand. So I can use this Miraculous Shine, attack, and de-evolve all of her Pokemon. And this could potentially buy me some turns to get set up again if she does not have a Rare Candy ready to go. So she needs a Rare Candy to get Garchomp back out to knock me out. So at the very least, I have a turn to play with here. So let's see what she's going to do. Another good thing I do have going on is that Lucario actually can't use its ability now since there's not a Garchomp in play. So that's one good thing about this de-evolution play as well. She has kind of a big hand, but she can't search out exactly what she needs. Okay, so she's going to get down another Gibble. Definitely seems good. And I think I see a Sycamore in her hand. There's no way she can play that Sycamore, I don't think. So here it looks like she's thinking about getting down a Gabite. And what I might do is, okay, so she's kind of reconsidering that. Yeah, I think going for the active is a much better play because what she can do is she can actually use that Ascension attack and search her deck for a Garchomp and evolve immediately into it. And kind of preventing another Miraculous Shine, because if she gets out Garchomp this turn and I use Miraculous Shine again, well guess what? She can just put that Garchomp back down on Gabite next turn and win. So I think that's going to be an important play for her to go for this turn. And okay, so she has a Tapu Lele. Not sure really what she needs this turn. She really just needs to get that Garchomp into play. She could just be playing Tapu Lele, maybe to grab a supporter for next turn, but also more importantly to see if there is a Garchomp in the deck to use Ascension with. So what she can do, I think she could actually just safely go for a Guzma this turn with the Tapu Lele. And in the process, like I said, she saw that she has Garchomp in the deck, so she can just use Ascension to end her turn to get Garchomp in play, having Guzma in hand to win next turn. Now, the only thing that could potentially go wrong here is if I'm able to successfully Sycamore into 2 Decidueyes and a double Colress energy, I can actually take a knockout on Garchomp. But unfortunately, I don't have it. I have a Rowlet, Floatstone, and Ultra Ball. So here, I'm just going to scoop, and let's go to Game 3, and let's see if we can have a bit of a better game here. So I know the first game was a little bit rough for Haley. She only had that lone Lele. And similar for me in the second game, I literally only played one draw supporter the entire game. I never really had much going on. I was able to kind of take a couple of cheap prizes, but I never really got set up this game. So let's go to Game 3 and see what happens. But like I said, I feel like this matchup is somewhat even. So she can take knockouts on Leafeon with Garchomp, whereas I can de-evolve stuff and snipe damage counters with Decidueye. So I feel like if both of us get set up, we could have an interesting game. So let's have to see, how this is going to go. Hopefully we both have a little bit of a better start this time. Okay, I think I see an Eevee. Okay, so I do have an Eevee to start with. That is definitely my ideal starter here. And I think I saw an Ultra Ball as well, so that means I can actually get the first turn Bridget and going to be in kind of a decent spot. So here I'm going to use Energy Evolution, no doubt getting a Leafeon. And here while I'm in the deck, I can just kind of take a peek through and see what all I'm going to have access to throughout the course of the game. So here I have an Ultra Ball, but not a lot of cards I really want to get rid of. And, I don't have a draw supporter ready to go for next turn, so unfortunately I think I have to just go for a Tapu Lele. And I'd like Sycamore, but I really don't want to discard that other Decidueye. So I do remember in this game I did have 1 or 2 Decidueyes prized, and I had to discard one with that Ultra Ball, so I couldn't really afford to Sycamore that one away. So here I'm going to have to go for Cynthia, which is actually really nice because I don't have to play N and potentially give Haley a different hand. I want to save my Ns for the late game to disrupt my opponent, which is kind of what N is supposed to be for. So really thankful we have a card like Cynthia to offer some good early game draw support. Okay, so it looks like Haley is going to go for a Tapu Lele of her own, no doubt going for Bridget, I would imagine. So here we see her eyeing up that upside down Pokemon fan club. That's her Bridget proxy, like I mentioned earlier in the video. So if she has an energy, I would imagine we'll probably see a Vulpix, Gible, and Riolu. That seems like kind of her ideal 3 targets, assuming she has the energy in hand to retreat. Okay, so yeah, that does look like what she is actually going to go for here. So you can see both of us having a much better time setting up this game. Okay, and she has the fighting energy, more importantly, so that's great because if she had double Colress energy, she would have to actually discard it, but the fighting energy means she can keep it in play and potentially save that energy. So here she's using Beacon, searching her deck for looks like Lucario, and I would imagine probably a Gabite, and so that seems pretty good. So what do I want to do here? I have double Colress energy. So what do I attach it to? That's the question. Here I'm thinking about attaching it to Lele, but honestly what I think I might do, I think I actually might power up Dartrix, because I think Decidueye is actually going to be my preferred attacker here. Because Decidueye has 240 hit points, which means a Choice Banded Garchomp can't knock it out. I did have to discard my Espeon EX and my Zoroark GX in the process, which is super unfortunate, but I do play Rescue Stretcher, so I can get this back into the deck at some point as well. And so you can see I'm definitely having a much better start this time. I do have another Rowlet in hand, but you know what? Like I said, I had to discard a Decidueye, and I think I have 1 or 2 prized, so I think getting out a 4th Rowlet just won't do much for me. So I think going for this Eevee that I have in hand is a little bit better here, and setting up a second Leafeon instead. So now I can use Grand Bloom GX, and I can get 3 more Stage 1s into play. A little bit unfortunate I had to get rid of my Zoroark. That would have been definitely a great Stage 1 to get in play, but nevertheless, I think I'm in an okay spot right here. So this match is already shaping up to be a lot more even paced than the last one that we had, which is definitely good for you guys watching, I'm sure. So here Haley's going to get down a Gabite into play, getting out a Lucario. That seems good. getting down a Choice Band. Choice Band, honestly, not too relevant in this matchup unless I have Zoroark GX as an attacker, but nevertheless a good card to play down. You know, especially if she doesn't want to draw it, she can play that down and thin out of her deck at the very least. So here she's going to play that N, refreshing her hand. And I'm really happy about this because that kind of signals to me I'm in no danger of being knocked out this turn, because she needs Cynthia in order for Garchomp to do 200 damage. So let's see what she's going to go for. If she can get down maybe a third Gibble, that could also be good as well. Okay, here she's going to go for a Rare Candy Garchomp, definitely what she likes to see, I'm sure. And she can actually make use of this Lucario as well, now that Garchomp is online. So we'll have to see what route she's going to go. I do see a Puzzle of Time in her hand. I'm not sure if there's anything in there she wants to get out, though. So I think she should honestly just use Lucario and get down an energy for turn. I think that's going to be the big thing, because you really can't afford to miss an energy drop with this deck, since Garchomp's attack cost is a fighting and double colorless energy. It's kind of an awkward attack cost at times, especially since there's no energy acceleration in this deck that isn't based around the other Garchomp's attack. So every energy drop is super precious. So I have to see what she's going to go for, but I definitely think a Fighting Energy is probably the ideal target for her. Okay, so it looks like she's committing to that one, and I imagine afterwards we'll probably just see a Beacon. Okay, so she does go for the Fighting Energy, definitely realizing the importance of all of her energy attachments in this deck. And going to go for a Beacon. It looks like she's going for a Gibble and a Garchomp, so I really like that. And okay, so here I have Rescue Stretcher, which is actually great. I can get Espeon, Zoroark, and that Decidueye I had to discard early on back into my deck. So here I have a Decidueye in hand as well, so that's definitely good. Powering up that Decidueye, you can see, you know, I've kind of realized, you know what, Garchomp really can't knock out these Decidueyes that well, so this is definitely going to be my main attacker, at least until I can clear the field of some Garchomps. So getting back all three of those Pokemon, like I said, and then we're just going to play N, shuffling all those back into the deck. And so this is also good too, because I saw Haley go for that Gibble and Garchomp. So definitely want to take those options away from her. She does have Lucario, so she can honestly search out whatever she wants anyways. But you know what? I want to take away as many options as possible from her. And you can see I draw another Decidueye. That's going to be really big here as well. Okay, and I'm going to put 2 damage counters on Garchomp. Then I still have another Feather Arrow to make use of as well. So I could put... You know, I could put 4 on this Garchomp, but I think... The only downside to that is if I put 4 on that Garchomp and she evolves the other one and attacks with that one instead, I actually won't be able to knock it out in one hit. So yeah, I think that's probably the better play, just spreading my damage out a little bit evenly. And so if you guys are unaware about Decidueye, it has that Feather Arrow ability that lets you place 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So let's see what she's going to do here. She needs a couple cards. She needs a Double Colorless Energy and a Float Stone in order to take a knockout this turn. So she's going to go for an Ultra Ball. Okay, so she's going to get rid of a Gibble and a Bridget, it looks like. So I'm not sure if I like that because, well, unless she has to go for a Lele to get a Supporter, but then she could always just search it out with Lucario, so I'm not sure. So it looks like she's thinking about going for a Riolu. And, you know, it's okay. You know, whenever you get 2 Lucarios in play, it is pretty impressive because you can search your deck for any 2 cards if you have a Garchomp in play. But the only problem is she has 4 support Pokemon in play. And yes, she is going to probably take a knockout this turn if she can get the Float Stone DCE combo. But on my next turn, I can just knock out the Garchomp, leaving her with only 1 Garchomp in play. And so that's really going to kind of hurt her board state. She needs to get down that third Gibble before I get a third Decidueye online. That's going to be one of the big things too, because once I get 3 Decidueyes online, I can pick off any Gibbles that hit the board. So honestly, I think she made kind of a big misplay getting rid of the Gibble here and going for the Riolu instead. So let's see what she gets here. I do see double Colorless Energy. That's going to be big. Okay, and so that means she can actually search out the Floatstone with Lucario. Oh, but she has it in hand, ready to go. So that's definitely a good turn for her. She's going to be able to take the first knockout, going down to 2 prizes. So that's going to be kind of good for her. But I will be able to actually respond with a knockout of my own, since I do have 2 Decidueyes and play one of them fully powered up, ready to use Razor Leaf. And she actually hasn't used Lucario, so she's definitely going to want to do that. I would imagine she might just go for another Lucario. That way next turn she has access to 2 searches. Since I don't think there's any other cards she can really play down from her hand this turn. The only other thing I can think of is if she has like a Super Rod, she could potentially play that and get Gibble back. But beyond that, I really don't think there's anything else she would want other than a Lucario. So yeah, I think that is what I saw her grab there. And here she's just going to shuffle up. And probably just take a knockout with Garchomp's main attack there. But like I said, I'm feeling good about my position. I can knock out this Garchomp with Razor Leaf. It's that attack on Decidueye. You don't see it too much, but it's a Grass and double Carlos. Just does 90 damage, nothing too special. But here, between the 90 damage and the extra feather arrows that I have, it kind of sets up these knockouts pretty perfectly for me, actually. Okay, and here I have an N of my own, so I'm definitely going to play that. I saw Haley search a card out of her deck, did not play it, so it's a card that she is going to want to immediately play down next turn. I definitely want to end her down to lower hand size, putting that card back, and putting those prize cards she drew back in her deck as well. Okay, so let's see what I'm going to get here. If I can finally get down a Zorua, that would be good, or a third Decidueye as well. Okay, so, I'm gonna Ultra Ball away. I think it was a Field Blower, and I could not see the other card. Going for a third Decidueye, definitely good. You know, once you get 3 Decidueyes out and play, you're in a good spot, especially because the math works out really nicely. With 3 Feather Arrows, that's 60 damage, and the 90 for Razor Leaf, you're doing 150. So even if she gets out a fresh Garchomp, these Decidueyes will be able to deal with them. So you're gonna put 2 more on the bench Garchomp, and then just take a knockout on this active one here. So it looks like she's gonna promote this Vulpix, has that Floatstone. She could promote Garchomp if she wants to as well. It has free retreat, but either way is fine. So now she's in kind of a difficult situation because, like I said, now that I have 3 Decidueyes in play, there's no Gibbles that are safe. She basically has to put down 2 Gibbles at a time if she wants them to be safe. But, well, actually, no, that's not true, because right now, this other Garchomp she has in play will require 1 Feather Arrow to take a knockout on, at the least. So if she gets a Gibble in play this turn, it will be safe. She has to get a Gibble down this turn, otherwise her board is going to be just torn apart after my next turn. So that needs to be her main priority. Okay, so here she is going to use Lucario's ability. What is she going to grab here? Okay, she's going to go for another Lucario. That's definitely good. That way she can start getting those multiple searches every turn. And going to use that other Lucario's ability. I'm not sure what all she has in hand. Looks like she might be going for a Max Potion. But, you know, I'm thinking... You know, I think that'll be okay, but she really needs to get down another Gibble this turn. It's just so important, I think. Okay, so let's see what she's going to go for here. She's going to play Max Potion, healing off the damage from this Garchomp. But honestly, I don't think the damage is too relevant here, because like I said, I have 3 Decidueyes in play. Between all 3 Feather Arrows and Razor Leaf, I can take a knockout. It's not a big deal. I think she should have definitely gone for the Gibble instead. So another thing she could have potentially done is gone for, instead of maybe powering up this Garchomp, maybe attaching double colors to Lele, because it would actually force me to have a choice band to take a one-hit knockout. So I think that could have been a better play, maybe going for a Gibble and attaching to the Lele. I think I like that a little bit more. So here she's going to do 80 damage with that first attack that Garchomp has. Not one you see too often, but you get to do 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon, similar to that Ice Blade attack that's on Alolan Ninetales GX. So if she strands this Decidueye in the active, she can actually take a knockout next turn with Garchomp's main attack as well. But here I'm going to play a Field Blower, getting rid of Choice Band, and more importantly, Float Stone. And here I'm going to play Cynthia, shuffling my hand into my deck and drawing a fresh hand of 6. So I need a Float Stone here. I do play, I think, 3 in this list, and I don't think I've actually played one yet, if I'm not mistaken. So I should have plenty of outs to one. I can also use double Colorless Energy to retreat that way as well. So I think I have a lot of ways to successfully get this thing out of the active spot. And I do hit the double colorless, I'm sorry, not double colorless energy, but the Float Stone. So that's definitely huge here. I can safely retreat, and I still can attach an energy for turn somewhere else as well. So I have, I think, a Grass energy in hand. What I might do is just attach to, yeah, I like this, attaching to Leafeon, basically setting up Leafeon and Decidueye only being 1 DCE away from being completely powered up. So now, this is kind of, Haley's board state is coming back to bite her a little bit. Had she got that Gibble into play instead of the Riolu previously, or even saved the Garchomp last turn, she would have been in a little bit of a better spot, I think. So here she just has to Cynthia, refresh her hand, and drawing 6. And now that she doesn't have Floatstone, this Vulpix is actually going to be stranded in the active spot. So I think she may have made a little bit of a misplay not promoting this Tapu Lele. Granted, she didn't have the double colorless energy in her hand before she had to promote. So like, she drew the double colorless energy for turn. She didn't know she was going to draw it, so I understand why she promoted the Vulpix, but kind of unfortunate there. And now that this Vulpix is in the active spot, that's going to buy me a turn to just kind of like spread some damage around and set up some knockouts. And even though I've only taken 2 prizes, we both only taken 2 prizes, I think that's game. That seems a little weird since the game isn't technically even halfway over. But my board is just so dominant. I have 3 Decidueyes in play. She can no longer bench any Gibbles unless she benches 2 at the same time. Because if one comes down, it can just get knocked out by Feather Arrows. And here she's discarding a double colorless energy and a Sycamore, it looks like. And I'm not sure how much I like that either, because I think she's gone through a few double colorless energies at this point. I think this is actually her very last one, to be honest, because I knocked out a fully powered Garchomp earlier. I knocked out the one with double colorless energy last turn. She has the one on her Lele, and then this other one hitting the discard pile. So she's out of double colorless energies. She does have Puzzle of Time in this deck. So she can potentially reuse them, to be fair, but without having a Garchomp online, it's going to be very hard to actually get 2 puzzles in her hand at the same time, because Puzzle of Time is very nice in this list because you can search them out with Lucario, but whenever you don't have a Garchomp in play, they become much more difficult to actually make use of. So here she's going for the Gibble, but like I said, I don't think it I just don't think it's that good going for it unless you can get down a second one. And here you can see Haley's kind of realized that, oh wait, like, Eric has 3 Decidueyes in play, it's kind of a pointless to bench it right now. So here, I guess she's just gonna use Beacon, and I am fine with that. So I actually have a pretty decent hand at this point. I mean, everything I have is pretty decent. My board is great. I can kind of just survive with this board, I think, till the end of the game, even if I'm drawing dead, to be honest. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to power up this Leafeon, because Leafeon is actually a good attacker in this matchup. If Garchomp is not in play, Garchomp is kind of keeps Leafeon in check, but when it's not in play, like right now, Leafeon's actually much better. It does 110 base damage instead of 90. Like the Decidueye does, so that means I can actually knock out Lucarios without any Feather Arrows being used. Can also more easily knock out Tapu Lele. Here I have a Zorua, thinking about benching it, but I could keep the bench space open in case of something like an Espeon EX play, or maybe a Tapu Lele if I have to grab a supporter. You know, my deck has already been thinned out pretty decently. I'm not sure if I even am going to attack with Zoroark GX in this matchup at this point. So it looks like I'm actually just going to discard the Zorua. Normally Zoroark is definitely a great card in this matchup, since you get to discard all of your extra copies of Bridget and your extra copies of Eevee and the cards you play, you know, inflated counts of to get set up in the early portion of the game. But at this point, I've played so many supporters, I already have everything pretty much in play that I need. I guess just keeping the bench space open and you know, maybe going for Espeon at some point could be a little bit better here. So I have some options. I can knock out this Vulpix, but honestly, I don't really want to be honest. It's kind of a worthless card at this point. So what I might do is just sit back and kind of spread some damage and set up some knockouts. So what I can do is I can put 4 damage counters on this Tapu Lele with 2 Feather Airs, and basically that means one of Leafeon's attacks will knock it out, since I have a Choice Band which bumps its damage output up to 140, so I can knock out this Lele now if it ever comes into the active spot. So I'm just going to put 2 more damage counters on a Lucario. And I might just pass this turn and force Haley to burn some more energy. She's already gone through a little bit, and so I kind of want her to burn even more resources just to stay in this game. And another reason I'm not worried about attacking this Vulpix, because I can always just clean it off the board at any point with 3 Feather Airs if I choose to. And we see Haley's going to bench a Lele going for Cynthia, which is actually kind of good. Well, not for her, but because this is going to take up that last bench spot she needs, and she's no longer going to be able to get down 2 Gibbles at once. So basically any Gibbles that hit the board, including this one that she has in play, is going to be immediately picked off by Feather Arrow and is, you know, going to be cleared from the board before they ever evolve into Garchomp. So at this point, like I said, I think I've just basically won. I think her board won't be able to recover because of the Decidueyes that I have in play at this point. So let's see what she gets. She definitely needs an energy to retreat, so she is going to retreat the Vulpix and to start attacking with Tapu Lele, but like I said, I can always just retreat and knock it out with Leafeon. Okay, so it looks like I am going to discard the double Colorless energy to retreat, bring up Leafeon, and now I can actually make use of Leafeon's ability, which we haven't seen much in this series, but if it's your active Pokemon, you get to heal 50 damage from one of your bench Pokemon that has, or not bench, but I think any of your Pokemon that have energy attached to them. So healing that Decidueye she just attacked all the way down to 80 damage. And now I have another fresh Decidueye powered up on the bench as well, that's completely healed. So I'm going to put the 6 damage counters on Gibble, like I mentioned. Kind of want to make sure that thing gets cleared from the board before it ever really, gets to evolve. And here I knock out Tapu Lele as well, going down to 1 prize. And basically all I have to do now is put 3 Feather Arrows on Vulpix to win the game. That Vulpix is not going anywhere. She doesn't play something like Alolan Ninetales, so she can't even evolve it to prevent that from happening. But here, that is going to be the game, so she kind of realizes, at that point, it's too hard to come back from. And so Leafeon GX is going to take this series. So yeah, definitely really excited to finally try out these Ultra Prism decks. Ultra Prism looks to have given us a lot more exciting stuff than we got in Crimson Invasion. Also definitely check out our Ultra Prism set review if you have not done so yet to hear about all the cards that we're going to try to cover on the channel. But yeah guys, as usual, feel free to like and subscribe. Deck profiles will be posted in the coming days, and if you're new here to the channel, we're going to have a ton of Ultra Prism coverage coming up, so stay tuned. And if you can support us over on our Patreon at patreon.com/rarecandytcg, shout out to all of our patrons over there, or by picking up something from our online store at rarecandytcg.com, including that awesome Decidueye playmat I was using in this video. That would also be greatly appreciated as well. But with that, I appreciate you watching guys, and we'll see you for the next one.